Okay, folks, we are live. Sorry for the wait. I had a slight glitch on my end. I think we're good. Okay, tonight on the Vince Dow Show, CNN runs we'll talk about it, okay? A very hilarious story where the parents of this Transformer child are crying about how they need to leave Florida. Also going to be reacting to now the sit-down part 2 interview of Tucker Carlson and Ice Cube. Candace Owens teasing an interview with Andrew Tate, and an emergency news alert that we got to talk about in a little bit. That's all tonight on the Vince Dow Show. Stay tuned. And we are live tonight from the great state of Florida. Welcome, everyone, to the Vince Dow Show. I am your galaxy-brained host, Vince Dow. And before we begin, everyone, be sure to leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and as usual, if you got questions or comments that you want read and answered on the stream, feel free to send it in via the Superchats. All right, with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have to open tonight with an emergency breaking news alert. This was not prepared in the show, but we got this as of about an hour ago. President Trump will be charged with 3 more counts in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. So they're bringing more nonsense. I don't know. What can I say at this point? Including the willful retention of national defense information and corruptly destroying or concealing records. Trump is now being accused of demanding a staffer delete camera footage to obstruct the probe, according to the AP. This comes shortly after it was revealed that the obstruction charges were being levied against the maintenance director of Mar-a-Lago in this case. So more nonsense. I mean, what can we say at this point? It's not shocking. It's, of course, a typical Banana Republic behavior. Are you even surprised at this point? Really, though? Can't say I particularly am. But here is the statement from the Trump campaign in response. Just figured I'd read it because I don't know the exact details of the charges or the whatever's coming right now. But Donald Trump, or at least the Trump campaign, comes out and says, "This is nothing more than a continued, desperate, and flailing attempt by the Biden crime family and their Department of Justice to harass President Trump and those around him. Deranged Jack Smith knows they have no case and is casting about for any way to salvage their illegal witch hunt and get someone other than Donald Trump to run against crooked Joe Biden." And it is so true. So there's the news. There's just the update tonight as we start the show. I mean, well, what can you really say at this point that we don't already continue to say? I really think what they're trying to do here, right, and part of the reason why one indictment is not enough, it was not enough to just do New York. It's not enough to do classified documents. Now you're looking into this probe potentially in Georgia, mysteriously all at once. But of course, according to everyone, right, they're all acting independently. We have a totally fair and normal justice system that just very randomly in the span of a few months all found these different charges, quote unquote, around Donald Trump, right? I think fundamentally what is happening is they know that one indictment is just frankly not enough. You saw how weak the Manhattan one was. Even CNN was going out and saying nothing's probably going to happen on that front. And so they're kind of hitting the panic button of try this, try that, because I suppose, right, statistically speaking, the more charges you bring, the more likely you are to, I don't know, win or get a good conviction on one of them. I have no idea, to tell you the truth, but there's just the updates. Of course, as everyone knows, we live in a banana republic. What else is there to say? But yeah, okay. Before we move on tonight, though, ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about, and in a second we will talk about this LGBT story with CNN, okay? It's quite the thing, so stay tuned. But first, we need to talk about our sponsors tonight over at Noble Gold Investments, because, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure you can tell, they are trying very hard to do all of this stuff, right? But On the flip side, when you look at the real issues that are going on in this country, Bidenomics, what a joke that is, right? We are obviously headed into what very likely will be a recession, and if not a recession, definitely a volatile year in terms of the stock market, considering we're about to head into an election year, and you know about inflation, you know about everything else, which is why it is the perfect time to protect your retirement with a gold or precious metals IRA from our friends over at Noble Gold Investments. And what are the pros of a gold or precious metals IRA? Well, in short, right, instead of being backed by, a certain stock, very often which are connected to BlackRock, your retirement and your money in your retirement is backed by physical gold and silver, which, as you may know, in times of inflation or recession or whatever it is, tend to be history's and mankind's most stable assets. And that's why you need to join many others in protecting your retirement with our friends at Noble Gold. Check them out at my link, VinceDaoGold.com. Again, that is VinceDaoGold.com. Go protect your retirement now at VinceDaoGold.com. All right, moving on here with our coverage tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to kind of cover this. So you may have seen, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but CNN has been running this story about, I guess today is the day that the transgenderism in kids bills is enacted in the state of Florida. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, as of now, as of today in the state of Florida, it is illegal to, do quote unquote gender affirming care on children, which is of course the way it should be in all 50 states. But check out this story from CNN. They're saying this family of four in suburban Florida shares why they're packing up to leave because they have a kid who, is a quote-unquote transformer, aka they are abusing this child. But here, take a look. This is from CNN, and this is just hilarious. We'll talk about it in a second, but let's watch it first, okay?
We just thought it would be a nice, warm place to live where we could get to beaches.
I just never thought that I would have to flee a state for the good of my children.
The SB 254, this will permanent outlaw the mutilation of minors.
I remember Tori coming to me one time and in tears, which she doesn't normally do. And I asked.
So that's their child. I think you can tell what's going on there, right? Transformer, male. You know what's happening here. So
asked her what was wrong, and she said DeSantis. And the fact that a governor would be making my kid cry, that's a messed up government.
I'm sure that 1000% really happened, by the way. I'm sure that, this transformer individual walked in and said, "Mommy, Ron DeSantis is making me cry." That's highly normal, by the way. That's totally not signs of either A, a totally fake story, or B, the kid has some type of other issues going on, because that's just not a normal thing for a young boy to be crying about. But of course not. All right, let's continue.
We're absolutely moving because of the political climate and the laws in Florida. We didn't want to move.
Good, get out.
When the Florida Board of Medicine started meeting and we realized that they were going to ban gender affirming care for our kids, that we might need to leave because that is life-saving, essential medicine and treatment for our daughter.
Life-saving, essential medicine.
I was very relieved when we decided to leave. I had never really heard that much about trans people, and until I was 11 or 12, I didn't even know trans people existed. So I was just used to being uncomfortable. I started hormone blockers pretty soon after that.
I feel so genuinely bad for this kid. As much as we want to, dunk on people, and I feel genuinely very bad because around 11 or 12, right, puberty is starting to come on. There's so much confusion that happens in puberty. And, it's for a lot of us, it's not sexual confusion, but there's a lot of different hormones firing. There's a lot of different stuff going on. I remember when I was in 7th grade or so, I was just really angry all the time, and I was just kind of really belligerent for no reason, and that's how. So there's a lot of ways that puberty just impacts people and affects people, and oftentimes it passes. But now, this person, instead of just being told, "Oh, it'll pass, you're fine, don't worry about it," now this guy is going to have to live with these permanent effects for the rest of his life, right? And if he does what a lot of transgender youth do, which is later on decide, oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, as much as they so often say, quote unquote, therapy hormone blockers are totally safe, and there's no permanent effects. That's totally debunked. Okay, there are absolutely permanent effects. I mean, just use your common sense. You're screwing with your body's natural process of puberty, which develops all of us people into who we are. So of course something's going to be very wrong there. And this person's parents, instead of just doing the responsible thing, which is, honey, maybe you're just confused. Maybe it is what it is. Listen, puberty, you're going to feel a lot of different things. It's normal. Instead, what do they say? Permanent life-altering decision. This person will never truly be normal after the hormone therapy, and then I'd have to imagine there's probably going to be cosmetic stuff done sooner or later. So it's just tragic. It really is.
Story.
Yeah, I mean, there was
And I'm very glad that this is now going to be illegal in my state. I mean, truly, you love to see it.
times before she started getting hormones and stuff that she was suicidal, but after she transitioned, she was much more outgoing, much more like comfortable with herself.
Okay, careful.
We are seeing many families that are leaving. I really think if you were to ask a member of a trans family, they would tell you they go to bed at night dreaming of how to get out of the state.
So that's the dining room right here, and then this is the living room.
That's just very normal, by the way, See, it's funny. They're making the argument that these kids have issues. That's actually the argument that they're making, because these are just not normal things for 13 or 14-year-old kids to be a concern with, to tell you the truth. But either it's that their parents are making a big deal out of it, which is probably part of it, and then the other part, right, is that the kids themselves probably have some issues going on. By the way, shame on this father especially. Imagine being a father to your son. Is this your own? I don't think it's their only son, but imagine being a father to one of your sons, and your son decides they want to do all of this, and you don't feel the least bit of shame, or if even you don't want them to go down that path. No, here's his father, and this is part of why we're gonna cover Andrew Tate and stuff later tonight. This is part of why there's a masculinity crisis in America, because fathers, we always talk about absent fathers, right? But I would say even a lot of fathers in this country who are there, you're still not doing your job. You're not actually being men, partially because you yourself are not a man. They've spent decades getting emasculated by their wives, and then this is the path you end up down. It's pathetic. But anyways, total sidetrack. Let's get back into this.
My hope for the McKee family is they are able to find a community that embraces them.
We're lucky that we're able to get out, we're able to afford to leave. A lot of people can't, or it's going to be very difficult.
I feel really bad for the people that have to stay here. It's been difficult to access my hormones. I'm not honestly sure how I would continue to access care. Even if I wasn't trans, I wouldn't be comfortable here. It's just not a safe environment for queer people in general.
Listen to his voice, okay? I'm telling you, I genuinely feel bad. That voice is neither male nor female. It is not masculine or feminine. It is just simply off, right? And this is the consequence of hormone blockers and all this stuff, okay? It doesn't create a feminine voice, but it also doesn't create a masculine voice. It just creates a voice that both genders, both sexes look at and say, well, that's not about right. And it's true, right? People always talk about, why is the suicide rate so high? It's because transgenders get bullied and all that stuff. That's not why the suicide rate's 41%. The part of the reason the suicide rate's 41% is because there's a mental thing going on there, obviously, right? And then also B, they've done studies on this where they say after gender confirming surgery, the suicide rate goes down. But then if you actually look at the data, it goes down for the first few months, right? Because right after the surgery, you're happy, right? You feel like, oh, I fit in now. I'm where I want to be. And then, if you follow them actually a couple of years later and throughout their lives, it actually goes up to almost exactly the same point. Why is that? Well, very often, and this is why I feel terrible for people who have fallen victim to this at such a young age, where they, were just confused hormonally and sexually and just ended up in this position, because what they often will find is that, you know, no amount of surgery, no amount of nothing can ever make them truly come off as like a normal member of the sex that they're trying to, you know, come off as, right? So I think that's also part of a reason why there's so much depression and mental health issues among that community, quote unquote. It's not just because, well, I don't even think it really has anything to do, to tell you the truth, with society bullying them. It's because they're trying to be something that they deep down can never be. Like, they literally can never be that. This person will never be a woman no matter how much he tries. And that's part of the reason why these people have these issues and are, you know, and are so sensitive and all of that, right? Because if you truly were that and you truly could become that, there'd be no reason to be sensitive. There'd be no reason to feel ashamed of it or whatever. You just own it. That's who I am. But that's the thing. They're not, right? Exactly the thing. They're not, you know?
I do fear for my daughter's safety, and just the fact that somebody might want to hurt her just for her being her, for her existence, is scary. I worry about her every time she goes out. I'll miss the wide open view.
Yeah. Sunsets are great from
Get
here.
out. Go to California, okay? Please don't go this weekend, because I'm going to California this weekend. But just go to California, okay? You can get a view, and it's probably 10 times more expensive, but...
No. I'm looking forward to just being in a place where I don't feel under attack, where I don't feel oppressed. It's just so sad that our country and our society are in this place of denigrating people like that and making them feel like they have no place.
It's just hard to start over all over again.
It's genuinely going to be much harder to start over again, you know, if you ever realize that you don't want to do that, do what you're doing right now. And so let me just say that on that front. But I will say, this is a good thing, right? This is what liberals, by the way, have been doing to us for so many years, right? How many liberals have left California, have left New York? Because they've been driven out, right? The governors of these states have looked explicitly at policy, and, you know, it's not a matter of, I don't think they consciously think, let's get conservatives to leave California, but it's more so a matter of, listen, we are going to fully enact our agenda, and we don't really care what the other side thinks, right? And conservatives in our states for many years have been kind of scared to do that, because we think, oh, if we push too hard, you know, we're gonna get a backlash or whatever, right? And then people are gonna vote out the Republicans. And I think what you're kind of seeing here is that's not what's happening at all. You're just getting the reverse California effect in a state like Florida. Texas is another example. I'm sure, you know, Tennessee and states like that are feeling a similar impact, which is that, yeah, maybe in the short run, you might get a minor backlash, you know, people are hissing and screaming, but really at the end of the day, what is happening is you terraform your state politically, and ultimately, by the way, I'm not even saying to consciously do this. I'm just saying by virtue of passing conservative policy, what you end up doing is making your state very unlivable for liberals, right? Which is exactly what it is. These liberals, these freaks who want to, you know, trans their kids, it's now basically more or less impossible for them to live in the state of Florida, right? And that's the way it needs to be. That's the way it should be, right? And I think what this goes to prove is that, well, if you want to keep your state red, you know, the best thing to do is not to make compromises with these people. It's not to look at someone, Tennessee, for instance, it's not to look at someone like Justin Jones and be like, oh, well, how do we work together with you? How do we compromise with you? No, the best thing to do actually is to sit down there, pass as many policies that make it hard to be a liberal, right? Make it as impossible virtually to be a liberal in that state, because you can't trans your kids. You can't get an abortion at 10 months. You can't, you know, you can't do any of this stuff, right? That's the way you got to do it. And so I'm very glad to see it's having an impact, you know, and this is partially part of the reason why I wish Ron DeSantis would have just, you know, stayed doing his job as governor, not gotten busy with the political campaign, because obviously his presidential campaign struggling, probably, let's be real, not going to go anywhere. But, you know, this is the good work, the genuinely good work he was doing in his state. And as you can tell, it was making an impact. It is doing something. I think a lot of other governors need to kind of take a look at this, follow suit. This is actually how you kind of maintain power, right? Is you make it a living heck for the opposition, right? That's what you ultimately got to do, right? You reward your side, you do what you believe, and you make it just very difficult to be from the other side living in that state. That's what you got to do. And, you know, in many ways, it's culture war at this point in this country. So that's exactly what you have to do. And truthfully, you know, I really wish DeSantis would kind of just stay in our state and continue doing this instead of wasting a bunch of capital on a primary that he's obviously probably going to lose to Trump. But there's just my opinion on it. Just saying, okay? On the topic of local Florida news, I guess I want to talk in a second a little bit about this educational curriculum that they're also simultaneously mad about. You know, like I said, it's funny. You know, Ron DeSantis on the presidential campaign, it's like the lion meme versus like the weenie little cat, right? Ron DeSantis on the presidential campaign, totally floundering. But when he just sits down, honestly, that's what he should do for his campaign. When he just sits down and just decides to be governor, it isn't very interesting. He actually, it just seems to work better for him, right? His popularity goes back up. We're going to talk about this educational thing here in a second. But first, let me get caught up on our super chats, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look here at some of these. Daniel McQuaid for 279 Canadian says, I can't even see what that says, not a safe environment for based. Thank you for the 279, Daniel McQuaid. I appreciate it. Trip for $5 says, what's up, Vince? I appreciate your show so much. It makes it great for listening while working in the hot Arkansas sun. God bless you, you galaxy brain. Thank you for the $5 trip. I appreciate it. It's still sunny right now in Arkansas. What is it? What time is it in Arkansas? 7:30. Well, I guess it is summertime, right? Well, regardless, I'm glad we could be of service and tell Arkansas I said hi. Okay, shout out to the Razorbacks. Okay, don't like the governor, but other than that, shout out to Arkansas. I appreciate it. Thank you for the $5 trip. God bless you. Daniel McQuaid for 279 says, "Be gone, liberals, evacuate." Yes, exactly. This is what we need to do. Okay. You know, and let me be totally realistic about it. I know me saying this is engaging. It's contributing to the fans of the political divide and all of that stuff. But realistically, like, I mean, let's just be real. I'm reaching a point in this country where, yes, it's not ideal, but I frankly want, because liberals already look at their states and they say, we want liberal states to be for liberals. Conservatives, you are not welcome here. So if someone tries to commit crime against you, the police are not going to defend you, right? It's going to be impossible for taxes. You're not going to be able to own a gun. You know, your kids are going to be taught disgusting stuff in public school, all of that stuff, right? They look at their states and they say, conservatives, you are not welcome here. So what choice do we have, conservative states, conservative governors, other than to sit there and say, well, we need to say to liberals, you are not welcome in our states either. And all the things fundamental to your lifestyle, we should just get rid of it. Get rid of all of it, okay? So, you know, this is what we got to do. This is what you got to do. Because frankly, you know, if liberals don't want to live with us, I don't want to live with them either, truthfully. So you can get out of the state, okay? Just go. We don't want you, okay? I don't want to live amongst people who, you know, believe that mutilating and permanently castrating their children is okay. I really don't, you know? In a proper society, one could make the argument that they would, you know, and again, in a proper society, that people like that would have to knock on your door and tell you that they're registered, you know what. But, you know, it is what it is. Okay. Thank you for the super chats, guys. Again, you do have questions or comments that you want read and answered. Feel free to send in via these super chats. But while we continue to talk about local Florida news, I did do a video about this week, but just want to bring it up because there's this discussion and still continues to go on, which is this whole battle over the Black history being taught, right? So what they're going out and saying, hold on, let me go back to the browser cam. Okay. You've heard about this by now, right? But this whole thing that, the Florida educational curriculum is saying that Black people benefited from slavery, right? This is what they're running with. This is what Kamala Harris is saying. This is what The View is saying. This is what all these people are saying. Even some conservatives. And by the way, I understand we're in the middle of a primary. So I understand, like, you know, some people are just going to use stuff for political ammunition. But as a resident of this state, I'm going to cover it fair and honestly, right? Here's what that curriculum really says. It's not teaching Black people benefited from slavery. It's saying, and I quote, instruction includes how slaves develop skills which in some cases could be applied for their personal benefit. Right? So all the curriculum that they're freaking out about, and what it actually says is that yes, not every slave was just doing hard manual labor in terms of just picking cotton or picking tobacco, right? There are slaves who are blacksmiths. There are slaves who were trades workers, all this different type of stuff. And it is a matter of fact of history that after the Civil War and after emancipation, many of these slaves who learned how to do stuff like being blacksmiths, being trades workers, later went on to actually use those skills as freedmen in the economy. Okay? So what's simply being taught here is true. Okay, that is a true historical fact. And of course, the reaction of the View, the reaction of all these people has been, oh no, that means you're saying black people benefited from slavery? No, we're saying as a fact of history, right? This is what some slaves did to further themselves later in life. Again, it's just a literal fact of history. Nobody disputes it. And just to go to show you how little it is actually disputed, of course, this controversy is over Florida and their, black history curriculum. Well, you may have heard a few months ago that the state of Florida banned AP African American Studies from being taught in the state. And so this is what the big controversy is, because they said that, hey, this AP African American Studies stuff, all it teaches constantly is critical race theory, 1619, it teaches this very negative and just anti-white and evil, terrible view of American history, right? But someone ought to point this out, right? Even the AP African American Studies curriculum, which, the liberals and progressives say is so good, also includes a section on slaves learning skills, right? So in the same sense that the Florida Black History curriculum has a footnote that says, hey, look, slavery, yeah, no good, okay, yeah, here's all the bad stuff that happened. But one fact of it is that after, the Civil War, some slaves went on to use their free labor to do this or that. Here we go once again. Even the AP curriculum acknowledges that. Why? Because it is a literal, just basic historical fact, right? That's all that it is. And yet for some reason, even a lot of conservatives, for reasons I guess I understand, but even a lot of conservatives are having a hard time defending it, or they're saying, why would you teach that black people benefited from slavery? We're not teaching that. We're teaching a historical fact. But this really gets back to, sorry, I'm getting the hiccups here. I got to keep sipping water. This really gets back to, the point they want out of history, because they'll say, this is not history. How dare you not teach history? No, this is exactly history, right? Because in history, you kind of just teach the things that happened. But what they want to be taught is this very cartoonish and obviously politically driven, left-wing driven, right, narrative of American history, that all that has ever happened in the history of America is this bad and that bad, and slavery this and this and that, right? So they want to teach this very cartoonish, over-the-top caricature of American history, to where all America was ever doing at any point in time was just being evil and racist and terrible. And so if you just simply teach the history of American slavery, which is what this is, that's wrong, right? You need to be teaching constantly that this was so bad, and look at this and look at that, and this cartoonish, over-the-top view, and none of it is reality. Whoopi Goldberg, when she was talking about it this week, went out and said, hey, Ron DeSantis, have you ever seen Roots? And this is what she cited, right? This is what she cited, because she's saying, they're saying black people benefited from slavery. What about Roots? So Whoopi Goldberg was saying they need to be teaching the show Roots in school. Roots is a fictional novel, okay? It is a fictional novel which was adapted to a TV show, also fictional, right? It is literal fiction. Okay, that's what they want being taught in school. It's not a matter of history. They want literal fiction that is very caricaturishly and cartoonishly just dramatized, right, for the sake of teaching kids that white people are evil, America is evil, this whole country is irredeemable, and this is why you need to join in the cultural revolution against it. And it is true. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that, because while we're on the topic of Florida and schools and kids and stuff, yeah, that's not true that they're being taught that. But anyways, let's move on here before we move on here, actually, let's get into some of our super chats, ladies and gentlemen. We got a few more coming in here. Good support tonight, guys. I appreciate it. But, all right, let's get into some of these really quickly. I need some more water, dude. I'm getting freaking hiccups here. Okay, let's see. Where did we leave off? Okay, we left off here. Daniel McQuaid for $6.99 Canadian says, the visual political divide is a good thing. It was always there. Now it's just that now the choice is more clear. Thank you for the $6.99 Canadian. Yeah, it is true. I mean, so many people say, I hate how divided the country is. And I don't like how divided the country is either. You know, obviously, what happens when countries are divided? Things break apart. But at the same time, you know, I don't think there's really much we can do to change that reality. Frankly, I think one of the last chances we had to truly unite this country without any type of insane resolution probably were in the 2000s and early 2010s, right? I think that, you know, well, really, I would say actually the original election of Obama in 2008, Obama was always a fraud and that was never going to happen, right? But that was one of the chances I suppose you had for like kind of a last chance at genuine unity, is if Obama got into office and was not constantly divider in chief and all of that. That's number one. And then secondly, I'd say maybe pre-COVID, if you kind of remember this late 2019, early 2020, it genuinely did feel that a lot of kind of the political divide in this country actually was starting to heal because things were going good, right? When things are going good, political divides heal. I remember even when I was in high school in LA, you know, I had some problems in the past, obviously, being an outspoken conservative and doing this content and stuff, which I've been doing since high school. But I remember even late 2019, early 2020, kids kind of stopped caring and they started being friendly to you again. And there was this sense, if you'll remember, and people don't really remember this now because COVID and George Floyd obviously wiped that all out. But kind of briefly, that early moment, I felt like things were starting to heal because things are going well. The liberals in many ways accepted before all that stuff happened, right? They were just accepting that they were going to lose the 2020 election because Trump was doing too well. And then, you know, it all fell apart. But I think at this point, to move forward, when they're indicting the former president, and they're doing all of this, and they're labeling you a domestic terrorist, and they're, you know, putting hormones in your kids, the idea that there's any real chance for unity or that's a noble thing to be pursued at this point, I don't really buy it. You know, if all these disaffected liberal types want to get together and try to unify the country, that's on them. But I'm more so about the kind of self-preservation at this point of conservatives, right? The way I see it, there's going to be no unity until we win the game, because there is, what uniting is there to be had with these people? I share nothing in common with someone who thinks it's okay to mutilate their children. You know, there's really no, on what grounds do we reconcile? I don't think it exists. So thank you for the $6.99 Canadian. And it is true, right? It's objectively not a good thing that we are a divided country. I think in many ways, though, you have to understand that this is the country we have and what's the best path moving forward, right? I don't think pursuing unity when the other side just basically wants you dead, figuratively speaking, is the right thing to do, right? You have to play the game as it's given to you, and that's absolutely my belief. But anyways, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian. And Zach Smith for $5 says, most conservative states are not doing much at stopping this stuff in education. I teach in West Virginia, and the state had a gay assembly for the kids in rural West Virginia. Well, this is very true. Thank you for the $5, Zach Smith, right? And it is real. And this is part of why, you know, people think, especially lately, everything I say is just out of animosity towards DeSantis. It's not entirely. I think that part of why, you know, it's not just selfish in terms of I wanted him to stay in Florida. Part of why I genuinely believe and why I don't always engage in the same attack mob that some other Trump people do against him is that I think the movement he's starting here at a state level, even if he himself is not perfect, because there are some things I think I also complain he falls short on, but still, this movement he's starting is very necessary, right? Because all these other conservative states are looking to Florida and they're saying, look at what's going on in Florida. Why can't our states be like that, right? Genuinely, I think before he ran for president, kind of just screwed up the current momentum he was on. He was starting what I sincerely believe, and I mean this sincerely, was a very important movement of conservative states using state power to enact, you know, their actual political goals and their actual political ends. We're not doing that nearly enough. When you look at most Republican governors in this country, they're absolutely awful. They're terrible, you know? And it tells you a lot, because I have a lot of criticisms of Greg Abbott, and I was actually for primarying Greg Abbott in 2022. There's all these criticisms I had of him. I wanted Don Huffines to win. But it tells you a lot, right, that Greg Abbott genuinely is one of the better governors in this country. Why is that? Because most of the Republican governors, they do nothing. Look at Asa Hutchinson. Look at the guy in Arkansas. You know, literally vetoing a bill that would have stopped this reassignment surgery, right? Kristi Noem also did a similar thing. Kristi Noem vetoed a bill that had to do with, you know, the NCAA and the Transformers playing the sports, right? This is the state of Republican leadership at the state level in our country, and it needs to be a lot better. And, you know, truthfully, a lot of people need to start paying a lot more attention to local and state politics, right? Because I think a lot of you, if you look at your local state rep, your governor, your mayor, even your congressman, maybe, a lot of you would probably look and realize, oh my gosh, they actually kind of suck, right? They actually kind of suck. That is true of most Republican leadership in this country, which is why it's regrettable that DeSantis is now, you know, focused on this primary. He can't win, and he's probably not going to win because, you know, the momentum of this was going strong, and now we don't have that figurehead. We don't have that kind of bull that's leading the charge at the state level, and it sucks. It's genuinely unfortunate. So, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. But all right, folks, it is 8:36 p.m. Let us move on now to so last night, as you may know, we reacted to the Tucker Carlson Ice Cube interview, okay? And we reacted to the ride-along interview, and that was kind of fun. And, you know, it was a genuinely wholesome thing. But they actually sat down today and did a full in-studio interview that it's interesting to say the least. Let's sit down. Let's react to it. It's crazy. You know, it really is crazy. Also, by the way, we just talked about unity and how divided the country is, right? This right here is real unity, right? This is like the genuine unity that I'm witnessing, because Ice Cube, obviously, you know, gangster rapper, comes from a totally different world as Tucker Carlson. Not a leftist, but he doesn't like Trump either. But here they are kind of sitting down and saying to themselves, you know, this country's kind of broken and corrupt and screwed up, isn't it? You know, that's what Tucker says. And then Ice Cube's like, yeah, I 100% agree. Hollywood is screwed up. The woke, quote unquote, is screwed up, all that stuff. And Ice Cube's like, oh, yeah, I agree with that. Very interesting interview. Let's sit down and take a listen here and follow up on what we were reacting to last night, all right?
So why would you be doing this of all interviews? I mean, you could do an interview with anyone. You're doing an interview with me. Obviously, you're going to take abuse for doing that. Like, why would you do that?
Because I think it's silly not to talk to people. I think whether we agree or not,
right?
That has nothing to do with it. You know, it's like, this is what it's all about. Let's talk about it. Let's debate. And you know, I've been shut out.
Wait, that sounds like right-wing extremism and whataboutism.
But I've been shut out. You know, some platforms will not have me on.
Why?
They don't like that I'm, you know, an independent thinker. I'm not part of the herd. I'm not part of the go along to get along gang, so to speak. So, you know, I'm an outsider. And so, you know, I'm not part of the club. So I have to go places for one, that I'm welcome, and where I can voice my opinion without somebody, you know, saying I'm a bad person and that they never want to have me on their platform again.
What platforms have banned you?
This is interesting.
You know, I tried to go on The View. They didn't have me on The View.
Why?
They would not have him on The View, okay? Guys, Ice Cube is not a right-wing icon by any stretch of the imagination. You know how he started, musically speaking? Do you know what kind of social conservatives in the country thought when he was first, you know, back in the 90s of him, right? But it's for a number of reasons. It's first of all because he would not take the jab, okay? So there's an issue we can agree with, truly, you know? There's a unity moment, right? It's because he wouldn't take the jab. And then also he just kind of along the way at some points has thought for himself. Like, he came out and said that he would meet with President Trump even though he didn't like him and talk about issues or whatever. And they said, how dare you talk to Trump or whatever it is, you know, how dare you say anything nice about the guy? And so that's really what it comes down to, right? That's really what it comes down to. For that alone, not even for being, I understand why Tucker Carlson would be blacklisted. I understand why someone like me, oh, wow, good luck getting on The View. The fact that they wouldn't have Ice Cube on, Ice Cube's not a conservative by any stretch, but I guess because he didn't take the you know, the thing, apparently that's...
Well, a few of the guests just really didn't like where I was coming from. So, or a few of the hosts, I mean. So that's what I was told by the producers.
Marsupio says he prompted or promoted violence and degeneracy. Well, this is exactly my point, okay? But that does tell you a lot, right? That's not why they won't have Ice Cube on The View. Okay, because I actually, you know, I grew up liking all that music and stuff. But, you know, in an objective sense, yeah, that has led to a lot of bad stuff in the culture. And I agree with that, actually, which is part of why I say me and Ice Cube probably don't share a lot in common on this front. But notice that's not why they won't have him on. They won't have him on not because he talks about killing people and, you know, all this stuff. It's just because he would not take the vaccine. Right? it's insane.
You know, I don't know if the producers was just copping out and using some of the hosts to not have me come on and explain myself, but
you'd be a good booking for them.
I've been on there before.
Yeah.
You know, it's just when I've became an independent thinker, when I've, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't follow their brand of politics, I guess.
But if you can't think for yourself, then you're not really free, are you?
No, you're not. You're not. But I've been excluded. I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah, I've been excluded. Yeah, man.
I would think you'd be the person Oprah would want to promote. I mean, you grew up in South Central, you were successful at a young age, you have dignity, you say what you think. Like, I thought that was the goal.
Me too, you know.
So
I don't
Oprah
know what
wouldn't
it
have him
is,
on either.
but
wow.
You know, several of my, you know, I had a movie called Barbershop, you know.
Yeah, I remember.
That I wasn't invited to participate with the cast. I produced a show called Black White, and it was a very controversial show. And once again, they had the whole cast on, but I wasn't invited. And so I don't know.
On Oprah's show.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's really.
But Oprah's obviously a saintly, godlike figure who's revered by all.
So there's him talking a little bit about being blacklisted by Hollywood. We kind of covered that a little bit last night. I want to move in now. Tucker asked him some interesting questions having to do with hot button issues these days. Partly the gender stuff, partly even asked him some racial questions. And listen to the response. Let me see. I believe it's about this timestamp. Let's see where I am. It'll load. It's over. Twitter video player has decided to just not work. Okay, we're gonna have to hit the refresh button. Oopsie daisy.
Be doing this of all interviews.
Okay, all right. Here we go. Or I suppose not. Is it Jover, guys? Guys, I think it's Jover. No! They don't want us to be listening to this conversation, okay? They're trying to shut it down. We're being attacked by the Matrix. Come on, Twitter, really? You can't get your video player to work? This is atrocious, ladies and gentlemen. This is an absolute crime. All right, well, while we sit around and wait to see if this ends up working or what happens, let me go and check out some of the chat. Let's interact with you guys here for a few minutes. I didn't know you could private message someone on YouTube. You could do that? I didn't even know that was a thing. Is Twitter being a poop? Yes, it is. Yes, it indeed is. Let's take a look. Lindsey Graham says, I would never be caught dead on The View or Tucker Carlson. Very true. Very true. Okay, what's going on here? Come on, Twitter. What are you doing? Or X, okay? Yeah, this is very X. This is...
Doing an interview with me.
This is X not working. All right.
It matters, and sometimes I think
there we go.
That's what we see is an organization hell-bent on winning, and not a fraternity or organization hell-bent on upholding the law and doing everything right or by the book, so to speak.
Oh, okay. Actually, let's include that. Here's him talking about the police. Okay.
His rights. I don't know how effective she is at her job.
What's your view of the police at this point?
It's just.
So, as you know, Ice Cube has a very famous song, right? F the police. It's Obviously not a song that I endorse by any means, but here, let's see what he has to say.
You know, it really is, you know. It's like looking at, like, what's your view of the military? Like, they're the military. They're always going to be the military. If I asked you this in 1946, you'd be like, they're the military. Yeah. So it's a fraternity. It's an organization that does things a certain way. And I think their philosophy sometimes is detrimental to the people they're serving, because I think cops have a win and make it home philosophy. Win whatever battles you have in the street, make it home at night. And that's actually the most important thing. And everything else, people's rights, doing things the right way, you know, being totally fair and square all the time and not, you know, being a little aggressive, you know, all that comes second to win the encounter, make it home at night. And you can't really fault somebody for thinking that way as a police officer, but that's the philosophy, so everything else comes second to that. So guy might not care if he violated your rights. He's gonna win this encounter, he's gonna make it home tonight. And that's all that matters. And sometimes I think that's what we see is an organization hell-bent on winning, and not a fraternity or organization hell-bent on upholding the law and doing everything right or by the book, so to speak.
So here's what's interesting about that take. I think we arrive at this conclusion for totally different reasons, but this is why I said it's kind of this comical, you know, horseshoe moment where either side looks at each other that hates each other and says, wait a minute, I think we agree on something, right? I have a huge skepticism myself of the conservative relationship with the police. Okay, I know we all say back the blue, law enforcement, this and that, but I look around at this country, especially in our big cities where the most controversy happens. I en masse see, you know, police in many ways, really what they do especially is kind of protect the criminals more so than they protect innocent people, right? I look at a place like New York City, right? Where were NYPD when, you know, Jordan Neely was going crazy on the subway? Absolutely nowhere to be found. They don't care about you as an innocent person, your right to be safe in an American city. But if you stand up and defend yourself, they will go in and arrest you, right? You know, or they'll be more worried about raising money for the county through speed traps than they will actually stopping all of the rampant crime that's happening in our country. When it comes to something like the Second Amendment, when it came to COVID, what were they doing, right? They were literally, and this is, by the way, even in red states, just for the record, in red states like Louisiana, like Ohio, what were many police doing? Right? They were enforcing the mandates. They were throwing little moms out of high school football games and literally dragging them out by force. Do you guys remember that video? Dragging them out by force like a criminal for like not wearing a mask in the football game, right? What do? They shut down churches during COVID. They shut down the Christian right to worship freely in this country during COVID. But all we conservatives do is kind of sit down and look and say, oh, we love police. We back the blue. Here's the way I see it, right? Police officers are ultimately, at the end of the day, they are agents of the state. Okay, they are law enforcement. Who makes the laws? Well, the people don't make the laws. I know you think you live in a democracy. You don't. The people don't make the laws. The state makes the laws. And so if the state, like it is in many ways now, right, is against us, right? If government is against us, then inevitably, what are the police going to be doing? They're enforcing the laws of government, right? And so at the end of the day, like I said, we don't believe this for the same reason, but I'm just kind of pointing out because it's a funny little horseshoe moment, right? I don't believe that the police are inclined to protect your rights either. They don't have a care for your rights. Why? Because the government doesn't have a care for your rights. And so if the government doesn't care for your rights, why would the police officers who work for the government care for them? No, they frankly don't, right? When they knock on your door to enforce a red flag law, do they care about the Second Amendment? They probably deep down know what they're doing is wrong. Many police officers do. But what do they do at the end of the day? Their biggest thing, get my paycheck, win the job, do my thing. And who cares if this guy goes to jail even though he shouldn't? It's true. It's something conservatives need to consider. Like I said, I don't agree with the reason Ice Cube believes it, because Ice Cube's view on the police is totally different. I believe we should have strong law enforcement that enforces moral and righteous laws. Our problem in this country is that we don't. I would suggest his view is probably more so that he just doesn't really want police, right? But like I said, horseshoe theory, it is kind of funny, right? We sit down and we can listen to each other.
And it's just the nature of
BLM riots. Yeah, no, prime example, right? They burn down this country. They stand by and do nothing as people burn down this country. But oh no, you protect yourself, you protect your business. We're going to put you under more scrutiny than we do the actual looters and criminals. Yeah, it's
that
true.
fraternity.
Maybe of organizations.
Yeah, you know, it's they come with a philosophy, and you know, you can try to buck it if you want to, but more than likely they're gonna get you out the way and stay in formation.
Do you think that it's harder to be a man in America now than it was when you were a kid?
Yes. Saying what you feel, being yourself, is what they call toxic. You know, we shouldn't be called toxic for our instincts and for, you know, I was born this way. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we be ourselves? We were born this way too.
So there are some groups, like if I say I'm trans, and people say, that's great, you were born that way, we affirm you. But if you say I'm just a dude with male instincts, you're not affirmed, you're attacked.
Yeah, I mean, everybody doesn't really have to affirm you. You know, if I wake up and say, you know, I feel like a pigeon.
True.
And I want everybody to treat me like a pigeon. Some people may say, whatever, Q, we treat you like a pigeon. But some people may choose to be like, dude, no. That's your world. I'm not part of it. And I have to be ready for that. It's a big world out here. Everybody doesn't have to adhere to me.
That's called narcissism, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. Yeah.
See, no, actually, that's what I respect, okay? That is what I respect a lot about Cube, is that even though, like I said, you know, the genre, the stuff he promotes probably not overall good for the culture, at least he's like a real man about it, right? At least now, he's one of the few people I think can say in Hollywood, in the music industry or the movie industry, whatever, in 2023, like maybe he sold his soul to something else, but he didn't sell his soul to Hollywood, right? He still stands by what he believes. He's still, you know, in many ways is kind of a real gangster at the very least, you know, whereas you have Lil Nas X, right? The icon, who's the, you know, one of the icons of modern rap. You have people like Lil Nas X. You have Drake, who paints his nails. You guys see that? Drake literally painted his nails like pink this week. That man is zesty, okay? At least Cube can look and say, you know, look, all the new rappers these days, you know, he could see, not saying he would, but he could snap them like a twig. And at least he says, look, like, yeah, I am a man, I'm a dude, and I'm not ashamed of it, okay? So I have inherently more respect for him as someone who just stands by his principles, frankly, than I do a lot of the modern rappers of today. It's true, you know? That's what you got to, and I made this point the other night, and it's true. You even look at a lot of people from that era, or kind of the era right after it. My example was kind of like Rage Against the Machine, right? Rage Against the Machine, what were they all about? Punk rock! F you, I won't do what you tell me, all this stuff, be a rebel. And then look at them now. What are they doing now? Get jabbed, wear your mask, vote for Biden, all this stuff, right? They have become Rage for the Machine. Rage on behalf of the machine. And that's what most, you know, musicians are these days, and even the older ones. Look at like Paul McCartney and people like that, you know, older gen. That's all what they are now. Ice Cube, and the reason why, like I said, I don't agree with all the message and stuff, but why I respect him is at least he can stand there and say he's still the same guy he was in the night. Probably not still the same guy, but he did not, you know, totally sell out to what Hollywood wanted him to be. First of all, he stands by his actual principles, and at least he actually is a real rebel, right? Because he is still speaking against power today. Even if I don't agree from all angles he does it, he's still fundamentally speaking against power, and I can respect that as compared to Rage Against the Machine, who says, F you, I won't do what you tell me, but vote for Biden, wear your mask, get the jab, all that stuff. It is true. Yo, Ryan Caton became a Vince-style patriot. Thank you very much, man. And we got a $2 super chat here. JFK and Truman only missed one Lions playoff W. Thank you for the $2, dollar for dollar. You really should, frankly, tell that to Red Eagle Politics, okay? Go in his chat when you have a chance and tell him that fact. He will probably seethe about it. But all right. As we wrap up here, we're not going to do this all night, but as we wrap up here, very interesting questions about race and some other stuff. So let's keep
Seems
playing.
like you're trying to bend the universe to your will. And it don't work like that.
Rage
We've
for
been
the
talking
machine. Yeah,
almost all day
exactly.
now. You haven't mentioned race a single time. We've mentioned economics, rich and poor, a number of times. Do you think that we overplay the role of racial conflict in American life?
Yes. I think race, it takes up too much space.
Tucker Carlson and Ice Cube just ended racism, okay? Racism, this will be remembered forever as the day that racism no longer existed because of this interview. It's true.
There's people that
They
we all
literally just
have in
ended
our
racism.
lives who are same race that we can't stand. And there's people in our lives from other races that we get along with way better. So it's not about race. It's not about color and gender and this and that. It's about who do you connect with? You know, who do you vibrate with?
They ended
You know
racism,
what I mean?
guys.
Who's on the same wavelength? Who wants to be the same kind of person? Who wants to do the right thing when you want to do the right thing? That's who you connect with. So I think a lot of people make a lot of money off of the racists fighting against each other and bickering. And they the ones who push it in our face all the time that we're separate. And
Does feel like there's more of that, doesn't there?
yeah, it seems like it's like you're stuck in a bad movie and you can't get out. Like you can't find the exit and it continues to play on the screen and you're just running around looking for the exit, and this bad movie continues to just haunt you day by day by day by day. You know, that's what we're caught in. A never-ending, winless battle of, of race and color, and we're worried about, where you from, and, hip-hop, what's great about hip-hop, like, it was a saying in hip-hop, early hip-hop, I think Rakim coined this phrase, it ain't where you from, it's where you at. And
He's ending racism.
it's so true.
Racism has been
It's not
solved
about
by
where you
Ice
come
Cube and
from,
Tucker
it's
Carlson.
about where you at right now.
I'm not imagining that this stuff is being pushed on us, right?
No.
Much more than in, say, 1986.
Yes, I think so. Because in 1986, you had movies and television, and it was all scripted, and we knew this is a scripted show. But I think now you have so many so-called reality.
So there's some talking about it a little bit. I think there's always been a racial divide in this country inherently, and in many ways that's kind of natural, right? In a country, you have racial divides, but it is definitely true that it's been exploited in many ways to make things worse, right? And to kind of fuel the flames, right? I think part of what happened was Marxists, when they looked at it historically in America, they could, because the traditional Marxist revolution has always been, hey, you get the working class, the factory workers to rise up. But what they've always found about America is actually, I mean, look at your average factory worker, right? They're not socialist revolutionaries. They don't particularly want to overthrow the system. And in many ways, a lot of the kind of working people in this country are actually quite conservative. So they decided, hey, let's take this age-old grievance of race, right, which always has kind of been a divide and this and that, and and kind of use that as the divide to overthrow and kind of upend the traditional power structures of society. So I definitely think that is true. But there you go, Ice Cube and Tucker Carlson solving racism, ladies and gentlemen. Let's skip ahead here a little bit to the last thing I wanted to get to. Hold on.
We're highlighting the bad guys here. You'll watch a movie on race, okay. And you flip the channel now, you're watching somewhat like documentary reality show that's highlighting and magnifying race and status and where you belong in this country and where you don't. And we're highlighting the bad guys here, we're highlighting the good guys. It's always really showing controversy and pitting each other against each other.
Does that bear any resemblance to your actual life as someone who lives in this country? Like, do you have racial conflict in your life day to day?
Probably, most of them are unseen. I'm not gonna say I encounter racism. People know who I am. Police know who I am. Everybody knows who I am. So I probably get a pass on a lot of things that friends, family members, people I associate with, people I love go through all the time because they're not Ice Cube. But I've had an insurance company drop me because they didn't like my point of view.
Okay, I'm trying to skip ahead. There's a part where he talks about economic issues, which I'm trying to.
So we can do cool things for.
Here it is. Sorry.
Wealth. Point in R. I'm mad at people because of their skin color. I'm mad at people because of what they do and the things they choose not to do.
Right.
There's a big problem in this country with the financial banking system and Black people and our access to capital. I know that when it breaks down, we have, 13 to 15% of the country trying to live off of half a percentage of wealth, 0.05% of wealth. So that's an issue. That's a problem. We have to have access to capital so we can do cool things for South Central. If we drove past one of those lots and a guy that lived there wanted to put a store up, he just couldn't get a loan because of his zip code. Now, guys from outside the area, they can come in and they can get a loan and put that store up. And that has to change.
How do people live in this state who aren't making a lot of money?
I mean, things are so expensive. Houses that used to cost, like my father, I think he bought his house 47 grand, maybe. And now it's worth 650.
The house you grew up in?
The house I grew up in. It's worth $650,000.
And that's in South Central?
South Central, yeah.
Huh. So the middle class has shrunk in this state?
Without a doubt, or left. They definitely shrunk, and we have a lot of people leaving the state because they just can't afford it.
Okay, I think you basically centrally get the point there. Sorry, I was trying to get to the point I wanted to cover, and then it took so long. But anyways, what I wanted to say on this front is that, okay, hold on, my computer just froze. It's over. Okay, we're back. See, what did I wanted to say on this front is that obviously it is true there's a big economic disparity in this country in terms of race. Of course, that's true. The big thing, though, is that that's not going to be solved by any of these political attempts to fix the problem, right? So, and everyone knows this. That's not a revolutionary take by any means. So what I would encourage someone like an Ice Cube to do, and to his credit, I feel like he probably does this more so than other people, because he says, look, I'm not political, I just want to help out. And he doesn't really fixate or really bet on the political system, which is probably the right thing for him to be doing, truthfully, is that, you know, look, first of all, you're a guy with enormous cultural influence, and frankly, that's the first thing that has to be fixed, you know, before anything else, you know. Obviously, investment, all of that stuff is good, but to be totally frank with you, if the crime problem is so high in certain neighborhoods, that investment just gets driven out immediately, and then there's no point. I would say to someone like him, right, I think the first thing is be, as someone who is highly respected, try to be a positive influence in the culture, right? Which I will be fair, I don't know if his really original music was back then, but maybe he's changed now. Maybe he's doing good things. I don't know. You know, it's open to it. Obviously, people can change, whatever. That would be number one. But then number two, I would say, yeah, I mean, if you can impact a positive cultural change, because that's really, at the end of the day, let's be real, what it comes down to, you know, mainstream... You know, people are going to take this out of context, but it is true, right? Mainstream black culture in this country is objectively dysfunctional in many ways, right? It just is. And it's not me shaming people or attacking individuals or whatever it is, you know, and obviously not everyone is dysfunctional, but when you look at something like poverty statistics, crime statistics, fatherlessness statistics, right? And you see what are the overarching trends, there's something there that obviously communicates, right, dysfunctionality. And, you know, I would fully encourage and, in my opinion, probably say that that's probably the first thing that needs to be fixed before anything else. And then, you know, but someone like him, at least he's not betting on the political system to come and fix all of those problems, because it's obviously not going to happen. And I don't know, hopefully, you know, if this is the new Cube, hopefully he can spread some positive change in his community. Who knows? I don't know. But long story short, that's the Ice Cube Tucker Carlson interview. I was going to cover this Candace Owens stuff, but it's already 9:07, so probably just transition now into Super Chats, and I'll cover it later at some point. But anyways, let's get caught up here on our Super Chats, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a look here. Andrew M for, here we go, $5 Canadian says, so many Hollywood stars that I thought were manly, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and John Cena, have sold out to Hollywood. Shame. And it is so true, Andrew M. It is literally so true, right? You know, The Rock was one of the most disappointing ones when he came out and said, we gotta go vote for Biden, because, you know, he should, by the way, he used to be a Republican. Publicly, he used to be a Republican. He was one of the icons of, obviously, his time. Everyone knows The Rock. Everyone knows what he's about. And what did he do? It's so shameful. Let's go vote for Biden. So that was a shame. John Cena, I don't know the particulars, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about there. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger. Dude, he was the Republican governor of California. And for some strange reason, now he's all about, we got to solve climate change. I love Greta Thunberg, okay? And then, you know, I don't like Donald Trump. It's really sad what can happen to you, too. I think in some ways, I think a combination of Hollywood and his last ex-wife totally emasculated that guy. And it's very sad. It's very sad. We want to love Arnold Schwarzenegger, obviously. He should be a conservative icon, and at one point he was, but isn't it interesting, right? Now that he's older, now that he doesn't have the muscles nearly as much, isn't it kind of interesting how, as his testosterone level dips, you know, he just becomes more and more of a pansy, or what does he say? What's one thing he says? Girly man. Girly man. I think we need to put Arnold on TRT. Okay, I think if Arnold was on TRT, watch, you just give him one dose of TRT, all of a sudden he would be back. He would be like, we're gonna save California again. Okay, he's gonna run for governor again, and this is what we're gonna do. It's true. Thank you for the $5 Canadian, Andrew M. I appreciate it very much. And Potato Head Pokey Mario says, I'm going to go look at Gatling shotguns. Thank you for the $2. Potato Head. Is that legal? I didn't even know those were legal, but that's cool. Thank you for the $2, Potato Head. I appreciate it very much. All right, guys, so we're going to go till about 9:25-ish p.m. So we're now open for our Super Chats, ladies and gentlemen. So questions, comments, Q&A, anything you want to send in, feel free to do it via these Super Chats. But yeah, we're now open, ladies and gentlemen. But Moarna says, I'm still praying for Arnold Schwarzenegger and Maria to get back together. Which one is Maria? Which one is Maria? Arnold and Maria. Let's see. I don't even know the lore. I just know, wasn't Arnold married to like a Kennedy or something? Let's see. I don't know. Oh, Maria Shriver. Is this looks like this must be his first marriage, right? Interesting. Very interesting. They look like they're having a very nice 80s wedding. I wonder whatever happened to that. All right, thank you. Yeah, it is true. It is true. I was about to say thank you, but it was not a super chat, but it is true. Marna says, nice Arnold impression. I think it's probably terrible, but I appreciate that you like the Arnold impression. By the way, everyone be sure to get the stream now to 100 likes. And FYI, I will not be doing a show tomorrow, which sucks because there's a lot happening tomorrow. Candace Owens is releasing her full interview with Andrew Tate tomorrow, and Vivek Ramaswamy is doing a town hall with Elon Musk, and I can't do a show tomorrow because I'm flying home to California for a few days. So that sucks. Okay, that sucks, but just FYI, no show tomorrow. So I'll be back in Florida, I think on like Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't even remember when I come back. But I might try to do a show Monday in California. I'll honestly see. I might just take some time off because I am very burnt out, honestly, to tell you the truth, from streaming. But I don't know. We'll let you know. We'll let you know. But FYI, for sure, no show tomorrow because I'm taking a flight. We will have videos posted daily, and we probably will do a stream Saturday for the Trump rally. I'll probably do that from California. So we will do a stream Saturday to stream the Trump rally and all that. I don't know what we'll do Monday. But we're going to be out of town for a few days, just FYI. And I will make content on the road, but I'm just informing everyone we will indeed be out of town. But all right, let's take a look at what we got going on. Again, guys, we're open now for Super Chats, but let's take a look. And we'll probably do a members block tonight, so just letting you know. Are you doing any live events in California? I did not look into arranging anything because I'm only going to be there for a few days, and it's probably a lot to try to figure out. So not this time around, but I'm sure in the future. Like, yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of collabs in California. I'm still supposed to do. I'm supposed to do a video with James Klug at some point. Do a street video with the liberals in California, and then was talking a little bit. We're in talks about going on Fallen State with Jesse Lee Peterson. So we'll probably try to set that up at some point. You know, you've seen those interviews he's been doing recently. But this time around, I was like, I'm not there long enough. I am technically there to see the family and to fulfill my obligation to see the family. So, you know, I didn't bother this time. But in the future, yes, we got to do we got to do the California tour. We got to get on whatever somehow, and that's true too. SB for $5. Thank you very much, SB. That's actually his first super chat. I appreciate it. Says, all right, Streamlabs is taking too long. I'm just gonna read it. Says, love your work, bro. As his testosterone dips, he becomes more of a girly man. That is true. Thank you for the $5, SB. No, it's literally the case. It's literally the case. Right? Because, by the way, it's natural. It's natural, right? As you get older, your testosterone drops. I'm not insulting Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, he's a legend. But it is very true. It is very true that you kind of notice as he gets older, he doesn't have the chiseled Bronze Age body that he used to. Look at how he thinks now. Now he's all like, vote for Biden. I will vote for Biden, you know. It's true. What happened? Free the Terminator, bro. For real. He's like the It's like the 21st century Terminator, right? Instead of destroying humanity by nuclear war and going and hunting down John Connor, instead he destroys humanity just by being a liberal and voting for Biden and talking about climate change. So, it's true. By the way, Arnold, who are you to talk about climate change? Didn't he used to drive a Hummer? What kind of car does Arnold Schwarzenegger drive? Because he's so obsessed. Climate change, I love Greta Thunberg. Okay, let's see. Arnold Schwarzenegger car. I guarantee you this guy drives a freaking... Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's do... I get it. Liberal hypocrisy, whatever. But no, I genuinely... Okay, we need to call him out, all right? Climate change, we need to solve the climate. Okay. So here he is. Is that a Bugatti? Yeah, that's a Bugatti. So Arnold Schwarzenegger can technically answer the question of what color is his Bugatti, because I guess it is silver. But okay, so there's him with a Bugatti. I guess the pronunciation is now Bugatti. What color is your Bugatti? Okay, but there's him in his Bugatti. You know, I'm sure that's very good for the environment, right? Idiot. Hypocrite. Okay. And then you go, yeah, it's true. Remember, he drove this around. He has this huge... I don't think that's a hybrid engine. Okay? I don't think that runs on an electric engine. Oh, it's off the screen. Okay, let me show you. And remember this, guys? He used to drive... I think he still drives this around. He literally drives around in a freaking... Like an armored... He drives an armored personnel carrier. Okay? He drives basically a SWAT team truck. And this guy's all about climate change. Okay, look at this collection here. He has an Audi sports car, whatever. A8, I don't know which one that is, but I'm sure that burns gas. He has a Bugatti, which literally is a V16 engine, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's double the V8. He drives a V16 engine, and you know, climate change. And there's him in his Hummer. Okay, this man burns more gasoline than probably the rest of the state of California put together. But, you know, and then look at him right here. He has just a big, is that a Mercedes? I don't know which one that is. Okay. So there you go. He's converted his Mercedes to being electric. Okay. So I guess he's not a hypocrite. Now he's saving the environment. Okay. He's lame though. Absolutely lame. How you going to complain about climate change and drive a Bugatti, a freaking gigantic Hummer, and then a literal like armored personnel carrier, okay? But he's saving the environment. It's just ridiculous. Predator was so masculine. Oh, how the great ones have fallen. It's true. It's depressing. It's a humiliation ritual, right? It's a humiliation ritual. Screw your freedoms. Yes, it's true. It's true. I need, honestly though, I need a, yeah, we're doing a members block tonight. I have decided we're gonna do a members block. So be sure to become a channel member. Link in the description to join us tonight on the members block. We're doing a bonus follow-up stream. Probably while we're just roast Arnold Schwarzenegger more, to tell you the truth, but we'll see. But yeah, it's just depressing, dude. It really is a humiliation ritual. The guy known for driving a Hummer, a Bugatti, you know, before Andrew Tate was known for the Bugatti, Arnold Schwarzenegger was literally saying, "What color is your Bugatti?" Okay? And then this is what, it's depressing. It truly is depressing. It's ridiculous, okay? What has happened? What has happened to our people? Just very sad. Massive L. T levels also drop when you stop taking steroids. Okay, well, I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny, okay? I can neither confirm nor deny. I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have no idea. So... Yo, we got a bunch of nonsense going on in the chat here. I don't even know what's happening. All right, well, we'll do last call for Super Chats, okay? We're going to end the stream here at about 9:25 p.m. So last call, questions, comments, anything you want sent in. Feel free to send it in via these Super Chats. Let me make sure we didn't get any on Rumble, which, by the way, we do stream on Rumble now. So here we are. We got one person in the Rumble chat. What's up, Blasian Babies 2020? Good to see you, Blasian Babies. We got 18 people watching on Rumble. I didn't even realize that. Okay, shout out to the Rumble viewers. Shout out Rumble. Shout out to Blasian Babies, the one person in the Rumble chat. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, okay? My strongest Rumble supporter. Let's go. But anyways. So Arnold never took steroids. I agree. I honestly do think Arnold's natural, but because think of all the competitions. How would he get away with all of that? You know, they do drug tests. Even back then, I'm pretty sure they drug test. It's not the Soviet Union, so I don't believe. I don't know about that. I think that honestly just discredits one of the who was once used to be, right, one of the great icons of bodybuilding and American masculinity. You know. But it is honestly 10 times. I don't even care if he took steroids or not. I'll tell you the truth. It's 10 times more humiliating that he's now, I am a liberal. I am a liberal. Get to the private jet. We have to go save the world on the World Economic Forum and the private jet. It's true. It's true. That's him. That's him. Any such cases. Any such cases. The chats are a little crazy, Vince. I can tell. But let's take a look here. Again, last call for super chats, last 5 minutes here. But compare Clint Eastwood and his pussification of a nation versus New Arnold. It's true. Clint Eastwood has still got it, right? I'm pretty sure he does. Okay, shout out to Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood has not caved, to my knowledge. I don't know if he has. Mel Gibson, obviously. James Woods, even though he's not the biggest actor ever, but James Woods. Okay, we love James. Is James Woods back on Twitter, by the way? He had a huge Twitter account. Remember he got suspended. Did Elon bring back James Woods? Let me see. I haven't seen that guy on Twitter in forever. He was one of the biggest conservative accounts. And is he just gone now? Let me see. James Woods. Okay, he is back. I haven't seen him in a long time. I'm gonna follow him. When's the last time you heard from James Woods on Twitter? Shout out James Wood, okay? You know, he did steal Peter Griffin's identity, famously, but it's true. All right, let's see. Chuck Norris is still good? Okay, well, there you go. You got another one. That's not bad. I'm trying to find something to actually respond to in chat and not this. Okay, all right. I don't know what's going on. Chat. But let me scroll up. Okay, let me scroll up. All right. So let's see. Ice Cube needs to drop a few hits and invest in private schools for the inner cities in LA. This is true. But oh no, the public schools. You gotta stick by them. The failing public schools. Many such cases. All right, this chat is a disaster. I don't even know what's going on at this point. But again, guys, last call for super chats. All right, here we go. Quintel Tuba for $2. Thank you very much. Says, why do left and right disagree on everything? By the way, fire beard. Well, I appreciate the compliment on the beard. Okay. What's her name? Moana keeps telling me I look like Fidel Castro, but I'm glad you appreciate it. Well, fundamentally, a lot of people will give you different answers to this question, but I think the reason that left and right disagree is because there is a spiritual divide, ultimately, at the end of the day, right? I think that really is really what it comes down to, is the right wing, even if you don't implicitly realize it, right? A lot of right wingers claim to be secular and all of this stuff, but the foundation of right wing ideas comes from a worship and an understanding of God, and an understanding that God creates and it ultimately is in control of this world. Whereas the kind of fundamental foundation of liberalism, of leftism, really all roots into a rejection of God, ultimately, at the end of the day, right? And in many ways, it devolves into worship of the self, right? And so if en masse, at least foundationally, right, left wing worships themselves, right wingers worship God, I think you can kind of see that's the roots of the battle. And I believe it's a spiritual battle, ultimately, right? The foundation upon which all of our political and cultural divides rest, ultimately, in my opinion, all ties to spirituality, right? Which is partially why I think as the country increasingly secularizes, so too does the political divides, so too do the seeming kind of increasing extremeness of the left. That's sort of my take on it. But thank you for the $2. I appreciate it very much. I think it all comes down ultimately to, that. It's spiritual foundations build the foundation for all the other battles in our politics and in our culture and all of that other stuff. But it is true. All right, this should probably be the last super chat of the night here, but Omar Zapata for $5 says, boost testosterone with I know turkesterone, okay? I've literally done an ad read for it, but I can't pronounce it. Turkesterone, it is true. Kistanchi and NMN from Black Forest Supplements. It's so true. I actually have some. Where is it? I should have some on this desk. There it is. What do I know? Okay. I think oh, it fell on the ground. It is so true, Omar. Okay. Well, I don't know why. Okay. All right. Little clumsy. I don't know why it fell on the the floor. But it is true. It is true. It is true. Thank you for the $5, Omar. You know, I've tried it a few times. I wouldn't say I've made it into my like routine, although I probably should, because that's kind of how a supplement works, right? But I do have to say, yeah, it does work. It does work well. You can literally feel it. Like, I feel like I have more energy and like I can just work out for longer and all that stuff. It is true. It is true. Turkesterone. I've never tried that other stuff, but it is true. Thank you for the $5. And you know, I've not grown a third arm yet. So it is true. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it, Omar. And SB for $2 says, can you give us a book recommendation before you go? Well, what kind of book recommendation? What kind of book recommendation? Do you want a political book? Do you want to... Well, SB, since you're new, because since you sent your first super chat tonight, I don't know how familiar you are with everything, you know, about me or my beliefs or whatever. So I would say probably a kind of a political manifesto in terms of where I more or less stand politically. Probably pick up, I guess, Death of the West or Suicide of a Superpower by Pat Buchanan. Those are probably, you know, if you're just asking me a blank book recommendation, that kind of forms, I guess, a lot of the foundations of what I believe as a conservative in this century. So I'd say maybe pick up that. If you want to go older, you know, you can pick up the Reflections on the French Revolution by, you know, Edmund Burke or whatever. I'm honestly not the biggest book guy, you know. I have read foundational conservative books, but I'm not the biggest believer that, oh, you got to read this million different types of political books to be informed. I think very often it just creates nerds that are out of touch. But if you do want some basic books that kind of form the foundation of my ideology, there's a few. Beautiful Losers by Sam Francis. That's another good one. So those are sort of some like manifesto, I suppose, books of my own. So yeah, there you go. Appreciate the $2, SB. And if we got nothing else, we're going to take this now to the members block, ladies and gentlemen. So give me about 5 or 10 minutes or so, but we'll be moving to members block. So be sure to become a channel member if you want to continue and joining us on this stream. Link is down in the description. If some of our mods could put it in the chat, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. But yeah, until next time though, if I don't see you on the members block, be sure to join us next week. I don't know if it's going to be Monday, but probably next week, either Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever. I'll let you guys know. For the next episode of The Vince Dao Show. Again, no show tomorrow. We are flying to California for a few days. But yeah, until next time, let's get the stream to 100 likes, and I'll see you guys later. Alpha moves only. God bless. See you on the members block, and peace. See you guys.